Now, perhaps surprisingly, this traditional alternative to the modern vision of hierarchy as a wicked thing is also embodied in a Hollywood film. But it's not a film about Narnia. Consider instead a very different song, this time an opening song and an opening scene from a different film and a different imaginative world. Some of you will recognize this song. I hope you paid attention to it anyway. It's the circle of life. It moves us all. But did you hear how the lyrics go? It moves us all till we find our place in this path unwinding. The circle of life may not be the deepest or best image of reality from a Christian vantage point or any other vantage point. That's a question for another time. But it is significant that in this song, it is we who find our place in it. We are made for it, for this large circle of life, for this world as it's been created. It is not made for us. It is the larger reality, and we find our place, our identity, by fitting into it. Note furthermore, and whether or not Elton and John really intended this when he wrote the lyrics to this song, note that the circle of life as portrayed in this film is unambiguously a circle that includes joyous hierarchy celebrated on every side. Did you see that here in the beginning? Did you notice how everyone in the land came with enthusiasm to the presentation ceremony of the new prince Simba? Everyone comes. Did you notice how the different kinds of animals work together, the larger happily carrying the smaller? Did you notice how all the animals gladly stepped aside, parting like the waters of the Red Sea when the priestly figure of the baboon approached? Did you notice the joy of the monkeys screeching and the glory of the elephants trumpeting and the elegance of the giraffes as they bow down? All of them together are celebrating the continuation of the rule of the King of Beasts in their midst. This is a picture of noble, life-giving hierarchy at its finest. Very different from the sort of things that we've seen in Narnia. Of course, this film too knows that hierarchy can go wrong. Many of us might remember the story that this film tells of the envious lion Scar who murders the reigning king and blames the young Simba and assumes the throne for himself. The terrified Simba is filled with the very self-loathing that we were concerned about a little while ago from Narnia. In self-imposed exile, Simba wants only to forget the past that haunts him. He wants only to believe in himself, and to believe himself free and autonomous, and therefore happy. Hakuna Matata, he learns to say. No worries. He's found a free and happy place, a place that seems to be made for him in his exile. But, like it or not, he is the true king of the land. That is, he is made for a different place. And when a true friend finally rescues him, not, we should make clear, not by telling him that exactly who he is just enough, but instead by reminding him of his duty as king to take his place, then he discovers that he truly is, he discovers what he truly is only by taking the place that he is truly made for. So, Simba returns, he challenges the usurper for the throne and wins a climactic battle in which Scar's evil kingdom collapses on itself. Just after that battle, in a land that Scar's tyranny has reduced to barrenness and burning, comes the lofty conclusion to the film. Let's watch that conclusion and then we'll wrap up. Just about done. So there you have it. The true king has taken his place. And you see how all the world rejoices as a result. Even the barren landscape is restored instantly, which is kind of convenient. The wretched population of animals suddenly has new hope. The circle is restored with everyone, both great and small, joyously taking part, each in his place, and each, therefore, joyous. In my judgment, this is a very different film from what we were seeing in Narnia. One that offers nourishment rather than mere platitudes, I think. The hierarchy-hostile world of Hollywood's Narnia films cannot nourish. It can only give us another picture of tyrannical rulers competing for what spoil they can squeeze from their oppressed subjects. The esteem-building world of the most recent Narnia film does no better. It can only invite us to look within and try to convince ourselves that the nastiness we often find there is not the real story. But here in The Lion King, I think we do find nourishment. Ironically, just the nourishment that Lewis's original stories also offered and still offer for those like me who are ornery enough to insist that the books really ought to take precedence over the films. The nourishment comes from learning about a world larger and more expansive than the narrow confines of my broken self, about a world that includes an ordered structure of authority that is the very stuff of life. That is a world in which we can live as exactly the people God has made us to be. So, here's my grand summary. I myself do not believe that, as we heard at the beginning, hierarchy and creativity are incompatible. Perhaps in a modern organizational context, it is sometimes true. But if so, it is true only because so many of us have been trained from our youth to think this way, to hate and fear something that ultimately is an expression of life and joy and glory. And perhaps it's occasionally good for us to step back and to question that training. Perhaps there's something more in the world that God has made.